Okay, here's another ChatGPT discussion that I really like. Going back a few decades, during the JFK era and all that stuff. Anyways, there's a book called Dr. Mary's Monkey. I don't know if any of you know this, but this may be information you do not know about related to JFK and Oswald and David Ferrie and all those characters. Fascinating story that I'm going to read here. I mean, from ChatGPT. But also, I have going back probably a long time ago, the beginning of my YouTube career. I made some videos back and when I was flying for Delta and from New Orleans, and a lot of these places I visited and talked about, and some of them are kind of hard to listen to because I'm on the street with buses and taxis and trains and everything. But check them out if you have the inclination to see some of the areas that this is talking about. But okay, Dr. Mary's Monkey. Okay, give the details. I'm talking to ChatGPT. Okay, give the details of the investigation surrounding the death of Mary, Dr. Mary, in the book entitled something like Dr. Mary's Monkey. And she was involved with characters like Lee Harvey Oswald and David Ferrie and the possible weaponization of cancer-causing agent related to using mice experiments. Okay. And here goes ChatGPT. The book Dr. Mary's Monkey by Edward T. Haslam explores the mysterious death of Dr. Mary Sherman, a prominent cancer researcher in New Orleans, and its potential connections to the controversial figures and conspiracies. The book delves into her brutal murder in 1964 and weaves it into a broader narrative involving Cold War politics, biomedical experimentation, and the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Here's an outline of the key points. Number one, Dr. Mary Sherman's death. Dr. Mary Sherman, an orthopedic surgeon and cancer researcher, was found dead in her New Orleans apartment on July 1st, 1964. This is after JFK was already assassinated, right? I've been to this place in New Orleans. Her body was severely burned and she had been stabbed. The official story suggested an electrical fire caused her injuries, but Haslam argues the burns were inconsistent with the scene and suggesting that she was killed elsewhere and moved there to make it look like a murder. Okay. Okay. Number two, cancer research and covert project. According to Haslam, Dr. Sherman was involved in secret cancer research, aiming at weaponizing cancer as a part of Cold War era biological warfare efforts. Experiments allegedly involved exposing mice to radiation and viruses to create virulent cancer strains that could potentially be used against political enemies, including Fidel Castro. Three, connections to Lee Harvey Oswald and David Ferrie. David Ferrie, a pilot and alleged associate of Lee Harvey Oswald, was linked to both the Kennedy assassination and clandestine activities in New Orleans. Haslam suggests that Ferrie and Sherman collaborated on cancer experiments using a particle accelerator to irradiate viruses, part of the effort to develop a biological weapon. And I visited this site also, which was purported to be the building housing this particle accelerator. It was spooky and it just had an eerie vibe to it. But anyways, check out my YouTube video from like a decade or so ago. Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of JFK, is implicated as having been peripherally involved in this network, possibly as a courier or intermediary in these covert operations. Yes. Interesting. Number 4, biological weaponization. The book posits that the goal of the research was to create a weaponized cancer-causing virus that could be used to eliminate political enemies without detection. This theory aligns with broader Cold War fears and covert activities where unconventional methods were explored for espionage and assassination. Number 5, cover-up allegations. Haslam argues that Dr. Sherman's death was a part of a cover-up to hide the experiments and their implications. So she may have been actually killed in an accident in this spooky place that I went to visit, and then they didn't want to expose that activity, so they moved the body to her apartment, made it look like a murder, and I think set on fire. But apparently one of her arms was disintegrated completely. It was weird. But anyways, okay. He suggests the involvement of high-level government officials and intelligence agencies in orchestrating both the research and the subsequent suppression of the truth. Okay. 6, controversial assertions. Critics of Dr. Mary's monkey challenge the lack of direct evidence, and there's no direct evidence, and argue that much of the book relies on speculation and circumstantial links, which is all we got. Supporters believe the book sheds light on unexplored connections between biomedical research, political intrigue, and the shadowy operations of the 1960s. This narrative ties together elements of historical truth, conspiracy theory, and speculation, making it both intriguing and controversial. It provides a lens to examine the complex web of science, politics, and secrecy during a tumultuous period in American history. Okay, then I have a follow-up question. Wasn't there an incident in the JFK conspiracy where Oswald and Clay Shaw were seen together in a small town north of New Orleans, where it was purported that they went to test a cancer-causing serum on an inmate at the state penitentiary? This is referenced in what's his name? The JFK movie from the 1991, I think it was. Okay. Yes, there is a claim in the context of the JFK assassination conspiracy. In the context of JFK assassination conspiracy theories that links Lee Harvey Oswald and Clay Shaw to a cancer-causing serum experiment, which allegedly involved an inmate of the Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola Prison. This incident is part of a broader, more speculative narrative explored by authors like Edward T. Haslam in Dr. Mary's Monkey. According to Haslam and other conspiracy theorists, Oswald and Shaw were involved in a covert project related to biological weapons, including cancer research. Here are the key elements related to this specific claim. Okay. Number 1, Clay Shaw and Lee Harvey Oswald's connection. Clay Shaw was a New Orleans businessman and the former director of the International Trade Mart, who was later implicated in the conspiracy theories surrounding the JFK assassination. When I was in New Orleans, I filmed where this International Mart used to be. It's not there now. Check it out if you can. Shaw was investigated by the New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, one of my heroes, who believed Shaw was a part of a larger conspiracy to assassinate President Kennedy. Garrison's investigation is notably portrayed in the JFK 1991, directed by Oliver Stone. Yeah, that was the guy's name. I can never remember it. Oliver Stone. I can never remember his name. Shaw and Oswald were purportedly connected in some way in New Orleans, where they might have crossed paths, though there is no definitive evidence that they directly met or collaborated in any significant capacity related to the assassination. Okay. Number 2, the cancer serum experiment. The claim centers on an alleged experiment that took place in a small town north of New Orleans, often speculated to be Baton Rouge, where Shaw had connections, where Oswald and Shaw supposedly tested a cancer-causing serum on an inmate in Angola prison. The idea that this serum was a part of a secret biomedical research intended for use as a biological weapon, possibly related to efforts mentioned earlier in Dr. Mary's monkey to develop cancer-causing agents. The experiment was said to have been part of a broader effort to create a weaponized cancer virus for political assassination. Next bullet point. The inmate, it is claimed, was used in the experiment as a test subject, receiving a dose of the serum, which allegedly led to the development of cancer in the individual. The claim has never been substantiated by definitive evidence. Never has. Speculation and secret government research. This incident ties into broader conspiracy theories suggesting that Oswald, Shaw, and other individuals like David Ferrie and Dr. Mary Sherman were involved in illicit government-funded research on biological warfare. Next bullet point. These theories speculate that cancer research, particularly involving radiation and viruses, was being weaponized as a means of assassination. Viruses, radiation. Isn't that starting to sound a little bit like COVID? And what our famous Dr. Fauci was doing? Okay. I tell you, a lot of these themes in the JFK conspiracy, they still continue today. Okay. These theories speculate that cancer research involving radiation and viruses was being weaponized as a means of assassination, potentially linking the project to high-level U.S. intelligence agencies and possibly extending to Cuba and the Castro regime, even given the context of the Cold War. Number 4, lack of concrete evidence. While this narrative is intriguing and has been explored in various conspiracy theories, there is no conclusive evidence to support the claims about Oswald, Shaw, or the cancer serum experiment at Angola prison. Next bullet point, much of this is based on circumstantial evidence, testimony from dubious or anonymous sources, and the interpretation of the New Orleans connections to the context of the assassination. Mainstream historians and investigators have dismissed these aspects as speculative and unsubstantiated. Okay, number 5, Garrison's investigation. Jim Garrison is one of my heroes, I tell you. District Attorney Jim Garrison's 1967 investigation into the JFK assassination did focus heavily on Clay Shaw and believed Clay Shaw was involved in a larger conspiracy, though Garrison's theories were controversial and led to an acquittal in Shaw's trial, like you saw in the movie. Garrison's investigation also delved into possible connections between Shaw, Oswald, and other figures in the New Orleans area. However, the specifics regarding the cancer serum experiment remain within the realm of conspiracy theory rather than verified fact. Nothing's a verified fact these days. This alleged incident, like many elements of the JFK's conspiracy theories, is shrouded in mystery and remains a subject of debate and intrigue among conspiracy theorists. However, no solid evidence has emerged to prove that Oswald and Shaw participated in a cancer-causing experiment at Angola prison. Okay, my follow-up question. Do we know the name of the inmate that got the serum, and does he have any surviving relatives who can confirm at least the circumstances of his death? Okay. The specific identity of the inmate allegedly involved in the cancer-causing serum experiment at Angola prison remains unknown, and there are no confirmed records or names associated with this individual in the conspiracy theories related to Lee Harvey Oswald, Clay Shaw, and the alleged experiments. Number one, lack of concrete evidence. As many aspects of the JFK conspiracy theories, especially those explored in books like Dr. Mary's Monkey by Edward Haslam, much of the narrative surrounding the cancer serum experiment is based on speculation and circumstantial evidence. There's no definitive, just repeating a lot of the same thing here. Because this theory is tied to covert activities and largely unverified accounts, it is difficult to substantiate the claim about the inmate, let alone trace any surviving relatives who provide insight into the circumstances of their death. Okay, potential inmate and circumstances. Well, some conspiracy theorists suggest that the experiment might have occurred in the early 1960s. There are no public records that identify an inmate who underwent such an experiment. If this event did occur, it would have been classified or hidden within secretive government operations. Even if the experiment did happen, the name of the inmate involved would likely be kept confidential due to the nature of the alleged experiments and secrecy surrounding the project. Okay. It says a lot of the same thing there. Then I just want to do a short add-on to about David Ferrie. This is just a short few paragraphs about David Ferrie. Okay, my question about David Ferrie. Is it fact that David Ferrie's house was full of experimental mice and that the circumstances of his death were very suspicious? Yes. Both aspects about David Ferrie, his house being full of experimental mice, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding his death are well documented and frequently discussed in the context of JFK assassination conspiracy theories. Experimental mice. David Ferrie, a former airline with eccentric interests, was known to have a fascination with medical experiments and reportedly kept cages of mice in his home. According to some accounts, these mice were part of an amateur research in cancer. Testimonies from the people who knew him, including associates like Perry Russo, have described his interest in exploring unconventional medical theories and experiments. These details have led some investigators and theorists to suggest that Ferrie might have been involved in cancer research with a potential bioweapons angle, as alleged in books like Dr. Mary's Monkey by Edward T. Haslam. Circumstances of death. David Ferrie died on February 22nd, 1967, just days after being publicly linked to the JFK assassination by New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, as shown in the movie. Ferrie's death was officially ruled a suicide due to a combination of factors: a ruptured berry aneurysm in his brain and apparent drug use. However, the circumstances raise suspicions. 3 bullet points. First, Ferrie had allegedly left 2 typed suicide notes that many found cryptic and non-consistent with genuine suicide notes. 6. Friends and acquaintances testified that Ferrie was terrified for his life in the days leading up to his death, which fueled speculation that he may have been silenced, and the timing of his death occurring just as Garrison's investigation gained momentum added to the controversy. These details have made Ferrie a central figure in many JFK assassination conspiracy theories. Whether his death was the result of natural causes, suicide, or foul play remains a matter of debate among researchers and historians. So there you have it. Some interesting facts on the JFK conspiracy. And I hope when Trump gets in there, takes office his second time with the help of RFK Jr., he releases all these documents and we put to rest all the speculation and get to the truth. As much as I think there's a lot of things that we're not going to have any document to prove it, but anyways, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.